People run away rather than run towards me.
They will run away because you are called Dr.
Panier. Why do they always associate injections with, doctors?
And that's what you do best. Actually, it's the nurses who do that, isn't it?
It's the nurses who do that, but they always call Dr. Panier. Why?
Nurse Panier doesn't sound good. Yeah, I mean, night nurse sounds good.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, night nurse sounds good.
Right.
But how are you?
Kwame, I'm good. Very excited.
So I see a whole. They've got a whole heart, a picture of a heart behind you on the screen.
Yeah.
With all these branches like cassava roots. Oh, this is a cassava root.
Oh, yeah.
And things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Sets the tone for our conversation today.
Right. So, good afternoon to all our listeners, and it's good to be here again, another Wednesday. Kwame, yes, I think last week, rather, we started a conversation on the top 10 causes of death, or the diseases that affect us that sometimes lead to death. And I believe that if we know about these diseases, we are better able to make the right decisions and regarding our health. So last week we talked about the first two, the respiratory tract infections, the lower respiratory tract infections, pneumonia being the prototype, and also the diarrheal diseases. So today, this week, we're going to talk about 3 and 4. And that's why we have this beautiful image of the heart. I find it very, very intriguing. There's so many attributions we make to the heart. When we talk about love, I don't know why we refer to the heart. Like we have to commission a study to find out why not the liver, why not your lungs, but why this organ in this image behind.
This is the one that can break. The liver won't. I mean, right. I've not heard of broken liver.
Yeah, do you ever wonder how come the heart became the organ we picked, to represent all these emotions? Why not the brain, for example? I mean, the brain is my most favorite organ, though,
But you people say when we are in love, the brain doesn't think. When we're in love, we do things that the brain doesn't take responsibility for.
No, at all. Or could leave. Right. So, number 3 is what we call the ischemic heart disease.
Yeah.
Ischemic heart disease. And when we talk about ischemia, we are simply talking or referring to a low or a reduced blood flow to a particular organ or tissue. Within it, so many important nutrients that our body needs. But it also has oxygen in there. It's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
So the heart, functionally, Kwame, is a pump. Despite what anybody can think about. So when we talk about ischemic heart disease, we're talking about...
Okay.
The heart is a pump, and it has chambers. At this moment, the landlords would be happy if you have four rooms in the chamber. This is chamber. It's 4 chambers, 4 bedrooms.
Like ruminant.
Yes.
Oh my God! Oh my God! This is me, yo! Oh my God!
Yes, the 4 chamber stomach of the ruminant. So it's got 4 chambers, and it receives blood, and then acts as a pump and pumps the blood around the body.
Okay.
Right. The double circulatory system. It acts like a fountain. So the blood goes out, and it's the same blood that will return to the heart to be pumped out again. Right. The heart is made up of muscle, and this muscle works 24/7. Even when you are sleeping, your heart is beating. And the day it stops to beat, you look for the nearest mortuary.
Laou?
And that's it. So imagine 70 years and the muscles of this very special organ beat every second for 70 years or for 80 years. So your heart wall muscles require nutrients and oxygen all the time. All the time. They don't take a rest. All the time they need oxygen. So Kwame, in the graphic behind me, you find this root-like design.
Mm-hmm.
These are blood vessels
that
you find on the surface of the heart. All
if,
right?
If you're listening and you want to see that picture, you can get onto our Facebook Live, and you get to see what doctor's talking about. We're live on Facebook right now on Joy FM page.
Right. So these blood vessels don't bring blood into the chambers of the heart. We need to make that clarity. These are too small. But they bring blood to the muscles of the heart that are going to do pumping, or that are going to pump, cause the heart to contract and to relax, to perform its function.
Yeah.
So you find it on the surface and then distributing into the walls of the muscles. These tiny blood vessels are the ones that get narrowed, and therefore you get poor blood flow, and therefore the muscles don't have enough oxygen, and then you get what we call ischemic heart disease.
Okay.
When you are born, so they are about the size of the cord I see dropping from the headphones. So
Okay.
they are actually very small. Yes. Very, very small. And they've got a lumen, like the water hose. They've got a lumen through which blood flows. When you're born, the lumen is very patent. But then as we grow, sometimes you get what we call plaque formation. Something begins to form on the insides of these blood vessels that tend to narrow the diameter or the radius, if you like, of the lumen.
Yeah.
It's just like when you want to shoot water a considerable distance from a water hose, you tend to obstruct the opening
of the hose. Yeah.
Yes. So
that's how we water the garden.
Yes. So you reduce the lumen size, and that reduces blood flow to the walls of the heart. That plaque that I talk about.
Pause. It means also that it increases the force with which the blood pumps. Then
exactly. So fluid mechanics.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're referring to.
Okay.
I mean, your science is sharp. You've gone to physics.
No,
move from biology to physics.
You're not going to presec.
Yeah.
I mean, even a visual art student can literally write science exam.
Yeah, of course.
You understand? We study everything.
Oh, sure.
So nice. I can write biology, physics.
The blue shirt magicians.
Yeah. It's like that. It's like that. It's very normal. Very normal.
So, Kwame, this is what usually happens. And that plaque that I talk about, at the core of the plaque, about 60% of it is made up of different substances. But at the core of that plaque is something we call cholesterol. We'll come back to this when I talk about the risk factors. So what happens is that the plaque can grow big, and because of the jet stream that you talk about and the force, sometimes this plaque can rupture. So not only are you having a reduced blood flow because the lumen size has reduced, and this happens over years as we grow because of all that we are putting within us, and sometimes because of some genetic problems that we have, we form plaques within these very tiny blood vessels that bring blood to the walls of the heart. And that is what leads to ischemic heart disease. So the heart muscles, which are pumping every second for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, all of a sudden they don't have enough oxygen. So they feel tired. If the occlusion happens suddenly because the jet stream hits the plaque consistently and breaks the plaque, what we call plaque rupture, then you form a blood clot. Your body reacts by forming a blood clot, and a blood clot can occlude the entire lumen suddenly. Most of the times we've seen this dramatized in videos and on television where somebody just clutches the chest, and then they've got fear in their eyes, and then they drop down. Most people actually die before they hit the ground, and we will call that a heart attack.
Okay.
A heart attack. So the ischemic heart diseases, again, a prototypical example is a heart attack. A heart attack. So when we talk about a heart attack, so the problem really isn't the heart. The problem is these tiny blood vessels that are supposed to bring blood to it.
I see.
That's one extreme end where you have severe chest pain. But sometimes it starts with very mild chest pain. The pain might radiate to the base of the neck. It may go to the jaw, the left jaw, the angle of the left jaw. It may go to the left shoulder. You may have pain that is radiating to the left arm. This may all be possible early signs that you are developing ischemic heart disease. So if you've been having chest discomfort that radiates to the base of the neck, that goes to the angle of the jaw on the left, that goes to the left shoulder, that goes to the left arm, it may be a symptom. You may also be experiencing nausea and vomiting. You may have shortness of breath. All right? Shortness of breath. And usually the shortness of breath comes with exertion, any form of physical exertion. This is where the men get into trouble, especially. I don't know why it's the men. But one form of physical exertion that happens is sexual intercourse. Where's Philip? This point Philip needs to hear.
Really?
Because during sex, the people who want to do 30 minutes for one round, and then short interval, they want to go to round 2. And round 2, they want to do 45 minutes. Well,
only 45?
So, on my 30 for round 1, and they have short rests, then they want to do football, second half, your body. Football. Hey, now you share by you say. That would be the story for another time. But sexual intercourse requires a lot of physical exertion, and our heart rate actually goes up when we are sexually excited. So can you imagine your heart is beating because you're very excited, and therefore it requires a lot more oxygen, a lot more blood flow. Yet your coronary arteries are occluded and they cannot supply you with enough blood. How many times haven't we heard men keel over? I don't know why it's more men than women, but men keel over during sex. Sometimes this is the reason.
Wow.
So ischemic heart diseases are real. There are some risk factors I want to quickly mention before we go on to point number 4. One of them is tobacco use. I always say that smoking is one of the worst things you can do to yourself. Smoking is one of the worst things you can do to yourself. So smoking tobacco long term increases your risk of developing atherosclerosis, developing plaques within the coronary vessels. So please, don't do it. If you don't, if you're doing it, you need to seek help to quit, and we can help you with that. Another risk factor is those individuals with diabetes, be it type 1 or type 2. It increases your risk of atherosclerosis, the cholesterol-rich plaque formation. Another one is high blood pressure, uncontrolled. There are lots of individuals who have high blood pressure, young people in their 30s and early 40s, who are not getting proper control of their blood pressure. And if this lingers, it increases your risk of forming plaques. Another is also high blood cholesterol. So it's one of those things where I tell everybody, we're getting towards the end of the year. If you're listening and you haven't done your annual medicals for 2021, please contact your physician and get it done. Your blood cholesterol is one of the things we'll do. Obesity, and this is something I've spoken a lot about in September and then in October.
Yes,
if you carry too much weight, you increase your risk of ischemic heart disease.
Okay.
Again, if your waist circumference or your abdominal circumference is more than what it should be. Remember, we said 40 inches for men, or 38 inches for men, and then 36 inches for women. If you take your abdominal girth around the level of the belly button, and it is more than 36 inches and you're a female, you've got to visit your doctor. If it is more than 40 inches and you're a male, then you've also got to visit your doctor.
The male, we have other ways of checking.
Yes. If you stand with your toes together and you can't see your mister,
that's a problem.
in the non-erect state, Branny and hell.
Wow. Okay.
The last risk factor is lack of physical activity, and that's why I'm always happy that we've got X Gym and you promote physical activity amongst young people. We're always excited when we had our walk with Lexis.
Yeah.
So lack of physical activity will round up all the risk factors for developing ischemic heart disease.
If you've got a question, you can send us a WhatsApp message on 055-1111-997, or you can call us on 0302-216-541, okay? This is a very, very delicate topic, and if you need clarity on anything, you can call, and the doctor is going to speak to it, okay? Really happy that you're tuned in. Somebody asked whether the use of aphrodisiacs, Mauli actually asked whether the use of aphrodisiacs also plays a role in this thing that you described earlier.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So there are a lot of different aphrodisiacs. So we talk about aphrodisiacs as if they are one chemical entity, but they're not. They're different types of aphrodisiacs. I was blown away when during a study trip to New York, I found out that there's a special type of toad, the buffalo toad, a type of frog, if you like, that produces something that people lick off its skin as an aphrodisiac. So aphrodisiacs come in different forms. Usually what they cause are arrhythmias, irregular heart rhythms. Irregular heart rhythms.
That's what they cause.
Yes.
Okay.
Some of them may cause irregular heart rhythms. Ischemic heart diseases, if your heart walls are not receiving enough blood, it may also cause you to develop an irregular heart rhythm.
Okay, let's get on the phone line now. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. Titanus.
Yes, sir, boss. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you too?
Cool. Who am I talking to, please?
Lexis.
I like it. Where have you been?
Dr. Titanus, I'm here.
And I said, where have you been?
I have been around. I've been right here.
Wherever I pass, they'll be asking about you.
I'm here. I've not gone anywhere.
Okay, that's what you are saying.
Do you have a question
for
Dr. Safo?
Osafo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Hey,
Titanus.
medicine people. I am just hearing that before you stand and you are falling, you even die before you fall to the ground. Wow, I've never heard it
That's
before.
the heart attack.
But aside the plenty times in sex, what else? And not smoking. What are the other things man should practice to keep one's heart very healthy and strong, so that one can live for a very long time?
Okay, well, that's a
Right.
good question.
So that's a very good question. So a lot of the things that increases your risk, as I mentioned, the lack of physical activity. All right, and it's as broad as you want. You can cycle, you can play tennis,
Yeah.
you can play a five-a-side football. If now you can play a full-length football. So we Titanus, if you're listening, would encourage a lot of physical activity as much as you can tolerate. But of course, before you start any physical activity, make sure you get clearance from your doctor. Let us watch our blood cholesterol levels. Some of it, a lot of it is genetic, but some of it also has a contribution from dietary sources. Obesity. Let's watch our weight. I mean, it's a big problem. Last Saturday, front page graphic, there was a professor of nutrition. Front page headline was "Obolo children, a ticking time bomb." You know, so we've talked a lot about
That's
obesity.
childhood obesity.
That's childhood obesity. You know, front page graphic. Smoking, the use of tobacco, and then excessive use of alcohol. These are things that I would encourage everybody to avoid, you know, to get good heart health.
Okay, 0302216541 if you have a question. Hi, with a familial hypercholesterolemia.
Yeah.
I'm on
You
Cresta.
nailed it. Yeah.
Did I nail it?
Oh, you nailed it.
I'm just too good, baby.
You
I'm bad, baby.
Yeah.
I'm bad. Anyway,
You're hot.
I'm on Cresta 10 mg
Right.
packet quarterly. It's been so since 2012.
Right.
And he says physical activity is my number one act.
Right. Good. So as I did mention, the cholesterol-related problems, high blood cholesterol, mostly it's familial. So that's what he mentioned, or he mentioned, familial hypercholesterolemia. It has a genetic component to it, not because you eat a lot of, as people say, fatty foods. But then when it also happens, then we want to limit the dietary sources of cholesterol that would worsen your scenario. So he's on medication, which is good. Your doctor will check your blood cholesterol levels regularly, and we hope that if we keep it at a lower level, the rate at which you deposit plaque within the lumen of the coronary arteries, the heart arteries, would reduce, and therefore you reduce your risk of developing ischemic heart disease.
Please find out from the doctor. My BP is very well controlled, but I was told the oxygen in my heart is low. I've been diagnosed of mild cardiomegaly.
Right.
Can he recommend any exercise, please? I don't drink, smoke, I walk a lot. My cholesterol is normal.
Right. So I wouldn't know exactly what he or she meant by my oxygen level is low. I mean, usually we're able to stick something on your thumb, and then we're able to get a determination of your oxygen saturation of your blood. But the high blood pressure is not the only reason why, or risk factor for developing ischemic heart disease. I mentioned the other contributory factors. So before we prescribe any exercise, we would need a thorough evaluation of the individual. A lot of the times I have had very, very frightening stories in the emergency room because somebody was exercising in the gym and then they dropped, they collapsed. So we don't just start the exercise.
Yeah.
We need to do an assessment. The doctor will have to give you a physical examination using the stethoscope, for example. It's not just a blood test, but a physical examination before we can prescribe something. The exercise too must be supervised by a physical therapist, a physiotherapist, not a gym instructor. They are two different things. You know, there are gym instructors, and then we have physical therapists who have a BSc in physiotherapy, who can understand and relate anatomy, physiology, and then pathology.
Good stuff. Ibna Ajiwa says, can I get a physical exam done at your hospital?
Oh, absolutely, Abna. Absolutely. Medina Firestone branch. You can walk in. Come see me next week, Wednesday, or any day of your convenience. And whoever is there, if I'm not there, my colleagues are around. Definitely, you'd get a thorough medical exam. So ischemic heart diseases are number 3. They are non-communicable. It falls under the non-communicable umbrella. What we discussed last week, number 1, number 2, were all communicable diseases, infectious diseases. But Kwame, we used to think that the heart problems and all of that are diseases that afflict the Western world. Well, today we're all realizing that number 3. That's number 3. So it's not a problem of the Western world. We see way too many of them now. But the good news is that you can actually take charge and take control by minimizing the risk factors. Kwame, is there enough time for us to talk about number 4?
No, there isn't. I mean, I can tell how heavy this particular one has been. In fact, it's been very helpful.
Right.
So it's not a problem at all. We can look at number 4 next week.
Right. So I'll conclude by saying that the lifestyle change is very important in controlling or reducing the incidence of ischemic heart disease, reducing and keeping those blood vessels patent. Because Kwame, if it does happen and you have an emergency, unfortunately in our part of the world, there are very few emergency rooms where you can have options. Sometimes, even in the most developed countries, if you get a sudden occlusion by, say, a clot, the plaque ruptures and you form a blood clot that occludes completely the blood vessel, then, as I said, it happens even before you die, even before you hit the ground. There's very little intervention. In our part of the world, the type of investigations that you need to do, and then the surgery. I'm sure most of us have heard about bypass, coronary bypass surgery. You know, sometimes you have to go and reconnect and go around the blocked parts of the blood vessel, and those kinds of surgeries are very delicate, surgeries. And how many institutions do we have in our part of the world to be able to perform those things? Dr. Sebo and the team at the Cardiothoracic Center, they'll be able to do it. But Kwame, if you are in Enum or Boso, my hometown, and then that then happens to you, by the time you get to cardio,
I think
so let's focus on the preventative aspects.
A few years ago as well, I had a conversation with Dr. Nick Osei-Jernin.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I read that story.
Yes, he does a lot of the coronary bypass.
Out to Wales or something, but then they were able to do something here because we don't have a luxury of them in our part of the world. So my focus always is on the preventative.
Preventions include CPR.
Right.
Is that it? Is this one of the cases that you need CPR?
Absolutely. You know, so somebody will just fall. Something we're going to do on the 20th as part of our pre-speech day, 83rd speech day anniversary event. We are having a health fair.
Okay.
I
think it's
We've
one
got
of the
mannequins and all of that.
I think it's one of the things that should be studied even at
Just pour water
and
This
do the
pouring water
compressions.
thing and then getting water, they aspirate and all of that. These days it's garlic and then holy oil and all those things, smearing it.
Okay.
So we should do that.
Doc, what's your number for those?
477340.
Dr.
Joy headline news at 5. Coming up, energy analyst Kojo Poku says the call by driver unions for government to scrap at least 5 taxes on petroleum products is misplaced. The unions have served notice. They will shut down transport services on Thursday afternoon if their demands are not met.
Per gallon per petrol, and then the 14 pesos per liter per diesel. The special petroleum tax, which is